Hi, guys. Exciting news for season 4. The Thrive Tribe newsletter is for everyone and it's free.
To sign up for our newsletter and to get more out of Chasing Brighter and engage with our amazing community, go to chasingbrighter.com/newsletter to get the latest updates.
And every month we have freebies, so check it out.
Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life.
Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Your best life is just a listen away.
Welcome back to Chasing Brighter. Today we're exploring something that shapes every single choice we make, the story we tell ourselves. Because the truth is, our inner dialogue can either hold us back or set us free. So today we want to talk about the confidence code and how we can rewrite our inner dialogue.
We all carry around this running script in our heads, and often it's outdated. Maybe it was written by teachers, parents, experience from decades ago, but the good news is you can rewrite it. And when you do, you unlock what I like to call, Jessie likes to call, what we're going to call in this episode, the confidence code.
Think about the last time you hesitated to go after something you wanted. Did that hesitation come from reality or from a story you told yourself? For many of us, the script sounds like I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. Who am I to try this? So as a cognitive behavioral therapist, this is stuff I do a lot with work about how our thoughts create our reality that impacts our mood and our behavior. I know I've shared before how I love listening to Tara Brach, and Tara Brach talks a lot about how our thoughts create our reality. And so just to kind of give some examples from our lives, one of the things I've really checked on recently is just kind of like my inner voice about my body. And, I used to say things like, why did I gain so much weight? I can't believe I look like this, really kind of negative thoughts and really kind of checking that. And then something else I find really interesting, and I think a lot of us do this, is just talking and thinking negatively about my marriage and my relationship. So maybe I'd be venting to my girlfriends, venting to Kelly and saying, my gosh, my husband did this, my husband did this, my husband did this, especially when the kids are really young. And then I realized that just makes me more pissed off and doesn't really help anything.
Yeah, I agree. I did the same thing. And it's funny because I've told for a while, I was telling like young moms, like, just to let you know, if you start like being resentful of your spouse 10 years from now, you're going to be putting your marriage at risk.
Yeah.
Because it really sort of like ate away at that narrative of my relationship with my spouse for sure.
Yeah. Versus if we were like, we're both trying our best, right? I went to this mom support group really early on, and all the moms were complaining about their husbands. And the moderator just kept saying, dads do it different. Dads do it different. And so that was kind of helpful too, of like, it's not going to be the way I would do it or whatever it is. But anyway, just kind of really thinking about the story that we're telling ourselves. And, research shows that the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and most are repetitive and many are negative. And that constant loop influences our self-worth and confidence. So let's kind of move into things that we can do to identify that story, identify that inner critic.
Yeah. So, the first step of what we can do is start rewriting the dialogue to make us aware of it. So starting to think about how you speak to yourself in moments of stress or failure, even success. Does your inner critic show up saying things like, don't get too excited, you'll probably mess this up? I think for myself, definitely in times of stress where I just feel like I'm a hot mess sometimes, where it's like, oh, you're just so unorganized, Kelly. Really probably need to. I think I've been able to fight through that a little bit, but it's crazy how these inner voices come up, your inner critics.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you're saying is that first part is we have to even recognize it. I think we're thinking it's reality and we think I suck, I did this wrong, whatever it is, and we're not even noticing it. So it's like reflecting and asking yourself, what do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? Really kind of start tuning in, tapping in. How do you react when you achieve something? Do you celebrate or do you dismiss it? I think about even like little things. I know we're talking about inner dialogue today, but I think about even accepting compliments. Like it says when you celebrate. So I know our mom, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this. It's like Justin and I's very first Christmas as a married couple, and mom got me all of these clothes. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mom. She was like, oh, that was on clearance. It was like 25 cents. And I'd be like, what? Oh my God, that wasn't even anything. And I was like praising her, but she kept like knocking it down to the point where I was
Yeah.
like, thanks for spending $5 on me, Mom. And so I noticed I do that. Like if someone says, oh my gosh, you made this for me. Thank you. I just start saying, oh, it was nothing. It was nothing. And it's like, being careful that we're like not dismissing what we did and just
Yes.
accepting
Yes.
the feedback and accepting the compliments.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the idea of celebrating things too. And part of that is something I think all of us don't do enough of, is really sitting with that in these times to really find ways to celebrate. So, I think the part that is hard about this is our inner critic is loud, but it's not the whole truth. And we get to decide if we want to keep that script or if we want to edit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Jess, let's talk about rewriting that script.
Yeah. So we have identified 4 things that you can do to start shifting that narrative. Okay. Number 1, name the voice. When negative thoughts come up, label them. For example, there's my perfectionist talking again. Naming creates distance between you and the thought. So this is so fascinating. During COVID, a colleague and I, Kara Green, you can find us on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to go watch it, but Kara Green and I had this whole thing about anxiety and worry and fear during COVID very early on in lockdown. And so I loved how Karis she goes, oh, there's Flo, like naming your anxiety. There's Flo, Flo, she's crazy. Here she comes. And I loved, she called it Name It to Tame It. And there is a book I listened to. It was about eating. It was like cognitive behavioral book about losing weight and eating. And he said to call it like the big fat pig or something like that, the pig. And so all of these people in the reviews were like so negative about the reviews. But if you listen to what what he was saying was, it's not you. There is something telling you, I need to eat right now. I'm hungry. It was really kind of about like, I think like stress eating and binge eating. And so it's like just separating yourself from it. So you're not like, I'm the worst. This is the worst. But you're saying, here's my perfectionism telling me something. And so just kind of like naming it so it separates it from being you.
Mm. The next kind of tool to give yourself is, to talk through and ask yourself, is this thought a fact or a fear? So often our inner critic makes sweeping generalizations that aren't rooted in reality. I think this is really great, especially when for me, when I start to feel very anxious about things, even with work, particular customers or clients who are really stressing me out, and just that spiraling of thoughts where there's no fact in what's happening. It's all my fear.
Yeah.
And really learning how to tame that.
Even if it's like, they're mad at me. They're mad at me. Like thinking about like if you were like, someone was really short with me, they're mad at me. And it's like, do you have facts? Did they say, I am mad at you? Asking those questions. No, I'm afraid they're mad at me. But really, right, the evidence is they said they had to go or whatever it is, right? Kind of breaking it down. And also, the third tool is flip the script. Replace self-defeating language with empowering statements. So if I tap into recently where I might be mean to myself, you and I have talked about this working out. Okay. So for working out, you talked about this a couple episodes ago where like time kept going and then you thought you had like a 45-minute workout, but it was a 20-minute workout. So that's something that I might do is it's like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have had the coffee. I should have come straight to the gym. Now I have to cut this workout out, blah, 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 right? So you can replace that by, I am so glad I showed up. I only had 20 minutes and I invested in myself and I spent 20 minutes on myself. I am so proud of myself for giving myself a little bit of time, right? That's a simple example of flipping the script.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And I think this is the idea of, you got to give yourself the grace. Like I love just a simple, like I'm learning and I'm improving, right? You can even use
Yeah.
that for so many things. I am here. I've made it. I showed up. There's a lot of positives that you can kind of work with to flip the script at times. And so the challenge sometimes is even just kind of recognizing what, that inner voice. And, our final tool is talking about confidence anchors. So, like, encouraging you guys to keep a small journal or notes on your phone with 3 to 5, like, past wins and strengths. I used to keep I still do. I have an Atta Girl. I don't know where I remember one of my first jobs, there was somebody who was like, "Ooh, Kelly, you got an Atta Girl." And so I have a folder in my inbox called Atta Girls, and just a place where, when that self-doubt creeps in, reread them.
Yeah.
Remind yourself of your greatness in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
really kind of help reinstill that confidence.
Yeah, keeping a list of your victories and what you have accomplished and keeping that somewhere. I love that. Rewriting our inner dialogue doesn't mean silencing all doubts forever. We're just talking about building a new relationship with yourself, one where your voice is kind, encouraging, and honest about your strengths. And some of that too, I know, Kelly, you call that friend talk. Did you get that from a book or something, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Of how we can just start talking to ourselves the way that we would a friend, right? In a kind, compassionate way. And so there are so many ways that confidence can show up in everyday life. Simple examples, asking for a raise, setting a boundary, trying something new. So I just want to give you a few more examples of what that confidence would look like and how that would start playing out in your daily life.
And so, a lot of these tips too, I think for myself, even I'm still learning. And one of those is simply saying no without any sort of over explanation or apologizing.
I love that one. Like, no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
There are some great ones I've talked about before from the book, Sensitive is a New Strong, for people who are empaths and feel like, I don't know, they have difficulty setting boundaries. But I love the thing too of just saying, I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that or whatever. Like, and just, we don't have to give someone any kind of explanation or apologize.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even like asking clarification when you don't understand something instead of pretending that you do. This
Yeah.
is definitely one where I need to stop saying, even at work, I'm always like, because I work with a bunch of software developers who are crazy smart and just code all day. And I'm always like, Kelly, marketing degree here, have a question. And I caught myself the other day saying that, where I was like, why am I even saying that? Like,
Yeah.
anybody can ask a question if they don't understand something. And I mean, there's a lot of people who don't ask questions because they're afraid to. And I think as I've gotten older in a lot of ways, if you're like paying attention to the conversation, especially in a professional setting, whatever it is, any question you ask is an intelligent question because it's something that half the time everyone else was afraid to answer or ask,
But don't you also feel good if someone asks you a question because you're like they're listening or they're paying
I
attention or
totally
they
agree.
want to
I think that
learn?
the world has changed in that, like, if you haven't asked me a question, then you're not paying attention or you don't care about what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I agree. I think even asking more obvious questions, it just shows that you're engaged. And sometimes it actually wakes up the rest of the audience or whoever
Yeah.
else is in the conversation too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it builds that confidence in yourself. I like this example too, like returning an item to a store without feeling guilty about it. Just going and doing things and not beating yourself up about it or worrying, kind of what other people are going to think or say.
Yeah. I think that, it's a lot easier nowadays to return things. But when I returned my girlfriend Michelle's for her wedding, the bridesmaid's dress at JCPenney's, I felt a little guilty about that since I returned it after I wore it to the wedding.
Oh. And the other one I think about is ordering what you actually want at a restaurant instead of what you should get. Like if there's peer pressure, I always joke my very first date for freshman homecoming, I ordered for dinner a side salad. It's like $2.99 or something. I was like, I was like not confident to just get what I wanted. You know what I mean? And so it's like if you're out with a group of people, like don't, just get what sounds good. Just, order what you want to do and follow your instinct.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And sometimes you'll be surprised when you end up getting something. I need to do a better job of like, I've told my kids, like, I don't care what they order, but sometimes I'm like, you guys, like, we're in the middle of nowhere, Michigan right now. So don't order the seafood platter because that's not going to work out for you, sort of thing. But also it's been a little live and let learn on those, because sometimes those aren't really the best and you might have some issues later. I think that's a great thing in that a lot of even anywhere you go, even if it's a coffee shop or a bakery, doing what you want to do and not what you think you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. The story that we tell ourselves creates our reality, but we have the power to rewrite it, and we can start today. Before we wrap up today, we want to leave you with a reflection exercise that you can journal on this week.
We're asking you guys to write down one negative story you often tell yourself. Maybe it's something that tends to play on repeat in your mind, and then ask yourself, where did this story come from? Is it 100% true, or is it an assumption? What evidence do I have that challenges this story? And how can I rewrite that thought into something more empowering? For example, you can talk about me where maybe my story is I'm always late for things. And, instead I can rewrite that as, I am doing things at my own pace and I am always trying to get there on time. So it's just figuring out ways to flip the script. And guess what? Even you heard my example. These don't have to be perfect. They can be messy. This is about you doing the work.
It's just that we're getting unstuck from that old dialogue. And just, I think noticing it is really that first step in recognizing it. And then you get to be the author of a new, more confident story. Like you're saying, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're working and trying. And, this week, pay attention to your inner dialogue. Catch the critic. Challenge the narrative and flip the script. Write down one empowering thought and repeat it daily.
And thank you for tuning in to Chasing Brighter. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend, someone who could use that confidence boost. And don't miss next week's conversation as well. Until then, keep chasing a brighter you. Thanks for listening today.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.